Hey everybody, it's me Stacy at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and I hope you are having an amazing day today. I know that I am, and I'm really excited to be bringing you some products that you may or may not already know about and some new technique. So we're going to get started, and today we're going to be working with Creative Imaginations and their white core cardstock, along with Twinkling H20's, which is a Luminarte product, also brought to you by Creative Imaginations. We're going to throw in some embossing folders and some other inks and maybe some resist and have ourselves a great time. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll on down and we're going to get started, okay? Okay, down we go. Bye. Alrighty then. There we go. I think that's pretty good, yeah? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is paper. We get a lot of questions about paper and white core paper and color core paper, and since paper is usually the foundation we start with on our projects, I wanted to explain a little bit about paper. This piece here is a piece of cardstock. It's just a snippet of cardstock that we have here in the store. It's basic cardstock. You'll find it in most of your scrapbooking and stamping stores. And this would be a color core cardstock or a solid core cardstock. And the reason it has that name is because when you tear it, it's the same color all the way through. Now it's great for stamping, and it's great for die cutting, and it's great for matting and a whole bunch of different applications. But then there's another cardstock out there, and this is white core cardstock. This is sold by Creative Imaginations, and we carry all the colors in 12 by 12 sheets. And what makes this paper different is that when you tear it, it's a white core in the center. Now, what does that mean to you? Why should you use this? Well, it's very much the same as your color core, as you can die cut with it, you can make mats out of it, you can stamp on it. But the added benefit to the white core cardstock is that you can use your Sizzix and Cuttlebug embossing folders with it. And when you do that and you sand the top color off, that white comes up and shows the relief of the embossing folder so that it really pops. So we're going to work on that, and I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to move on to H20's and play with those for a little bit. So I'm just going to move this right out of the way, and we will get started. Now this weekend, I was in the shop and I was playing around and I was using my H20's and came up with this, and I thought it was really pretty, and I made the base card for it in here, but I thought, okay, it's missing something. It needs a little bit more. What does it need? And then it popped into my head, okay, let's go ahead and emboss it and use the white core cardstock by Creative Imaginations. Now, quickly about this paper, while it is white core, it's a very, very nice weight. It's heavy enough so when you sand it, it doesn't tear or rip, but it's light enough so that you can use it as layering paper. And as you're layering with your cardstock, it doesn't get too bulky. Creative Imaginations did a great job on keeping the weight of the paper very consistent and very usable so that you can sand it without tearing, but you can layer several sheets on top of it and it doesn't get heavy and bulky. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to emboss this, and I'm going to take my Cuttlebug embossing folder, open it up, and I'm going to put my paper right in and close it up. Now we're going to be using our Sizzix machine here, our Big Shot, because as you know at Scrapbooking Made Simple, the Big Shot machine by Ellison is our die cutting machine of choice. Now we are going to be needing our multi-purpose platform, which is right here, because we're using an embossing folder, and we're going to open it up to tab 1 and slide tab 2 all the way through the machine so that we're working off of tab 1. I'm going to go ahead and put my cutting plate down. I'm going to put my embossing folder, put my other cutting plate, and thereby making a nice sandwich, and I'm going to roll it on through. Ooh, slippery. All right, there we go. And put this out of our way. And what we have when we open up our folder is this here. Now that's good. You can kind of see the embossing, and it would be kind of similar to this if you were using a color core cardstock. But now I'm going to take my sanding block, and I have the Sand It gadget, which we love, and I'm just going to hit the tops of the embossing. And what that's going to do is it's going to expose the white core that's in the center of this paper and bring the relief of the embossing up so you can see it better. And I'm just going to hit it with my sanding block. Now, as you can see, the paper didn't tear, but that white came right through. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It makes your embossing folders just pop. Now, I do have a little bit of a mess here right now because I did sand, so I've got a little bit of paper, and I'm going to take my glitter magnet here, and I'm just going to wipe up my glitter real quick. It's an amazing little tool here for $5. It comes in a huge sheet, and it does your embossing powder and your glitter and your sanding off your paper. So we really love it. So I've got this now, and I'm going to take my card back, put my mat there, put my top piece, and it really finishes my card off. The white core paper by Creative Imaginations just does a beautiful job. And what's really nice about it is that one side is a stripe and one side is a dot. So you have your option. And then when you sand it and emboss it, it just makes everything look so elegant. I really, really like it. Now, this is a different technique, and this is using twinkling H2Os, which is a Luminarte product sold by Creative Imaginations. And we're gonna get going on that. So I'm going to grab my piece of paper here. And what I'm using here is a glossy paper. This happens to be alcohol ink paper. Inexpensive photo paper you can use. I really like the alcohol ink paper. It does a beautiful job. And I'm going to take my Watermark Resist. And we've talked about this before, the Watermark Resist. And I'm going to take a Hero Art stamp that I've got here, and I'm going to ink it up, just like I would a normal stamp. And I'm going to stamp right onto my glossy paper here, my alcohol ink paper here. Now, what makes this paper so different and special is that it is a coated paper, and it has a non-porous benefit to it. I don't know if you can see, I've got two of them stamped on there. So it almost gives it a watermark. Now, since it's a non-porous paper, it's really important that you take your heat tool and heat set where you've stamped. And I'm gonna let you do that at home. I'm not gonna do it here for you today, but presto changeo, magico here. I have got one that's already been done, where I've stamped the image several times and I've heat set it with my heat tool. And there, I'm sure you can see those in the camera. Now, what I'm going to do is take my twinkling H2Os. And this is how they come. They come in little pots, and you open the pot up and you take a little water, put it in the pot and your paintbrush. And what most people do is stamp with their stamps and then use the twinkling H2Os to fill in their stamps and color them in. They have a very beautiful shimmer to them, and they come in amazing colors. We do have all the colors in stock right now. Everything's in stock for you, and they retail for $4 and they last forever. I'm gonna do something a little different with them. I'm gonna take a makeup sponge here, and I'm going to get it a little bit wet. Now, in this application, less water is better. You wanna use as little water as possible to get your effect done. And in fact, I'm going to take a little napkin here and just blot off a little bit. Now, with the twinkling H2Os, if you want a lighter color, you add more water. If you want a more intense color, you add less water. Now, I'm going to go just right over the top of my paper here with the yellow. And what's going to happen is where I've stamped, I'm going to get a resist. I'm just going to kind of blend it in. And I have got a resist here, and I will show that to you. There we go. So now you can see where the yellow has adhered to the paper, but not where I stamped. There's my resist. But I want to keep going. I want to blend some color. I want to play with a little bit of color. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of the red, and I'm just going to come right in here and kind of move it around, and take my yellow and kind of move it around, and I am blending my colors. And what I like about the twinkling H2Os is it gives you very much a alcohol ink effect without turning everything into mud, which is easily done when you're using alcohol inks. If you blend too much or you have too many colors, you just turn it right into mud, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to go over these colors again and again and again and keep the colors as true as possible. So if I wanted a little more red on the bottom, I can add a little more red and just kind of brush it away if I want a little more red up top. And I can just continually blend until I've got the effect that I'm looking for. And it's amazing because if I did this with my alcohol inks, I would eventually, like I said, turn it into a mud. So this is where I'm at so far. Is that not absolutely gorgeous? I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so easy, and the H2Os last for so long, and then you let them sit out and dry, and when the water's all dried up and evaporated, you put the lid back on and you put them away until next time. Let me show you a finished card right here where I've done the exact same technique with the same stamp, and I've used my H2Os to give me my background paper, and I've used my white core cardstock here to make my mat, and I've sanded it and embossed it, and it just looks beautiful. Now you can see I took StazOn ink and stamped my little dragonflies, and that's really important because StazOn is the one ink that will adhere to a non-porous material, and that's what you're looking for. You don't want to necessarily use your dye ink or your pigment ink. You may have to heat set those on a non-porous material like this glossy paper, but StazOn is the perfect ink for that, and it just adds a beautiful finish to my card. Now on this card, I did the same technique. I went ahead and used my twinkling H2Os and created my background color, but then I used my StazOn and stamped right on top of my background paper. And again, the StazOn, because this is a non-porous type of paper, the StazOn just set right on it, dried beautifully, and the silhouette is gorgeous. And then I took my Creative Imaginations white core paper again and used it as my layering paper because they make that paper so nice that you can sand it. It's sturdy enough to sand, but thin enough to use as layering paper so that your card does not get bulky. And then of course the last one I did was the one we were talking about earlier here, where I've again used my twinkling H2Os to create my effect and stamped a silhouette right on top. Really love the product. So what did we learn today? We learned the difference between a white core cardstock and a color core cardstock, and that color core is great and you can use it for everything. White core, you can use it for the same matting and die cutting, but you can also use it to emboss to give you that final pop when in your embossing folder. We learned that twinkling H2Os, not only can you paint with them, but you can use them to make your background papers and your watercolor effect, and you can use it with a resist or with your inks, and preferably your StazOn ink, since the paper you need to use needs to be ideally a glossy paper, an alcohol ink paper. That's what I'm using. We carry that in the store. And the StazOn ink will set. It will adhere to it without wiping off or smudging. Okay? We also learned that our glitter magnet is a happy thing to have around because it picks up all your mess, and that the resist that we used was the Ink Essentials Watermark Resist. And I'll show you a StazOn pad just so you can see what that looks like as well. So we have all these products here in stock for you, but really we love the white core paper. Creative Imaginations did a fabulous job, and their twinkling H2Os are way too much fun. Hope you guys learned something today. I had a great time, and shop Scrapbooking Made Simple, and we'll talk to you later. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to post a comment on our YouTube channel, or you can email me, and I'd be happy to answer those for you too. All right, have a great day, you guys. Bye-bye.